All right, we are back for the Undisputed podcast.
Yeah.
That's the DJ of D Sky Radio, and below me is the Quad Father, the self-professed Quad Father,
The Quad Father. Yes.
Below.
arguably one of the
Yeah.
worst nicknames in the history of nicknames. But we'll go with it. The Quad Father here.
The Quad Father. Frank, you insist on below me. You know, like you know how that comes out.
Yeah.
And you
Every time.
can't stop yourself from saying D Scott up in the corner and below me. It was funny the first time, Frank. It's not
Well,
funny.
you're below me. Who's our guest?
And he's a return guest too.
Yeah, he is.
Man, come on.
He's an exciting return guest. Alec Brooks, aka Coach Alec Brooks. That's how it pertains, I guess, to this show because it's got my name on it. But I wanted to bring Coach Alec on because there was an exciting happening over this past weekend. And so, so Coach is not only a coach, but he's also a fighter. And Coach had a fight this weekend. And Alec, what were the details? Like the name of a company you were fighting for and how this came to be?
Sure. Yeah. So the fight promotion was Lelio Code MMA. The fight was here in Orlando on September 2nd. So yeah, this last Saturday, as you mentioned, I was fighting for the 135 championship. I was scheduled to
bantamweight.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the bantamweight championship.
All right.
And then, got in there September 2nd. Fought the guy late in the evening, and I finished him in the first round. It was, I do believe, officially marked 2 minutes and 32 seconds in the first round.
Wow.
And TKO. It was great.
Yeah.
It was everything that you could want in a fight. Getting there quick and get out quick.
Yeah. So no damage taken, right?
No. We looked back at the tape a couple times. He may have only hit me once or twice. There's one that lands kind of clean, and then everything else is just, he flurried me at the beginning, but none of them really landed how he wanted them to. He was trying to knock me out in 10 seconds, and it wasn't going to happen. But he was a nice guy, a very respectful opponent, and quite the badass for stepping up because he did fight me on shorter notice because my original opponent had pulled out.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I mean, all the credit to him. I don't know about you, Coach, but I feel like these guys that, Donald Cerrone and even Mike Perry, as crazy as he is, and like I don't condone all of it, but man, these guys that are like anytime, anywhere, and then they walk it out. I don't know how you can't respect it,
Yeah.
Because it's and I'm not saying you shouldn't be smart with your career and whatnot, but like I just have a hard time, like if you're gonna be, you're gonna be a man, you're gonna stand up and be a man.
Be a man.
When the scenario's ideal, I will. Like if somebody, pulls a gun on you and your wife, that's not going to be an ideal situation. And are you going to be like, all right, honey, it's your turn. You get it.
Yeah.
I mean, so I just feel like, big ups to that guy that you fought because last minute he stepped up and fought. I mean, I'll say it, Coach, you're, and we can swear on this show. So I'm going to swear, boys. Make sure you're sitting down. You're a fucking killer. You're a fucking killer, And
I
that's
appreciate that, sir.
Well, I mean, I've seen it, and like you throw like some good school clothes on you, you clean up well, and it looks like, all right, well, yeah, I mean, he's just a mild mannered guy, but fucking rearrange your smile quickly.
Yeah, I've been told that before. Like, you don't look like a fighter,
Right.
but these people's idea of like a fighter looks like they come in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that that misinterpretation has been tested since the beginning of like UFC with Hoist Gracie, and that was just the beginning of like people getting a re-education, if you will, of what badassery actually looks like. A former guest on this show too was Kenny Florian, who is another guy who like looks like your math tutor, but will fold you like a wet nap if he has to. So
sorry, Bobby, my something happened. My my audio cut out for a second. I hate to tell you that.
blame it on. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, and I just missed a lot of what
Okay.
you're feel bad.
Well, it's not a big deal. It was
Wasn't
Frank's
important.
fault. It was Frank's fault. On this show, we just defer. Everything's Frank's fault. I mean, it's definitely something Frank did or something he didn't do, and God's gonna punish you, Frank.
Figured he has.
Yep. It's gonna be severe. So, Coach, you win the fight. It doesn't get out of the first round. Is that relief, or is it, oh man, there's a little bit of meat on this bone I still want to chew?
No, I was very happy about it. Yeah, if I could finish every fight in under a minute, that would be amazing. Now that doesn't very often, but I've as far as my MMA fights go, I've had two first round knockout, a first round TKO now, a second round submission, and I've lost by decision. And I've gone those 3 rounds, and while it is fun at various points, it's so much better always knowing that you're dominating the person and you kind of get that feel that you're just about to just fuck them up and get that win. Clock in and clock out real quick.
Yeah.
Coach Mike always talks about it. It's like people have 3-round wars, and it might be fun, maybe if you're absolutely insane, but
you're an asshole.
It's so much better just finishing that fight quick. You get to eat and drink whatever you want again sooner. There's just a lot of benefits just to getting done fast and in a spectacular fashion. When you look at some of these guys in the sport, all the way back to like the old school guys, you always loved seeing the first round knockouts. You love seeing like the first round finishes and submissions or whatever.
Yeah.
Exciting as a fan to see that.
Right.
So it's just good for everybody when those types of things.
Well,
I feel like I needed to fight more. I know I felt that way with your fight. You're in Dubai, like you're like, I didn't get to do enough.
Well, and here's the thing is I think I was blowing up a little bit too, so I don't know if I had much left, but I knew that I had the actual gas tank. I just think that like, I had probably a little bit of an adrenaline dump that they talk about, but there was so much that we worked on. We put so much work into that camp, and I enjoyed every step of the way. I just wanted to kind of utilize some of that stuff a little bit more. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's certainly a relief. And while you were saying that, Coach, I was thinking like, okay, well, if you get a few more early stoppages, I mean, there's a dirty but good nickname there. So the 2 pump chump Alec Brooks. he finishes early. It'd be the only time that you want to finish early.
That's the
No,
only-
Frank, you don't. Frank, you don't seem amused. Are you confused, Frank?
I got it. Just I don't.
Oh, just didn't. It's just not funny.
Oh.
Have you had problems in the bedroom, Frank?
I got 2 kids. Obviously not there, Kimosabi.
Hey, easy.
Hey!
Jeez. Wow. Dennis, somebody got offended. Holy shit. Well, I know
Sing.
not to go there with you. All right, back to coach. So with the fight ending early and like no damage taken, how do you, because I'm sure every fighter's different, how do you interpret that? Is that like, okay, well now like I'm gonna fight sooner than I would have normally? I mean, obviously if you take some damage and you gotta like rehab an injury or something, it's gonna put you out longer. But do you then see that as like, yeah, I want to get in there sooner?
It really just depends on the time of year that I'm fighting. I just historically don't take fights between like October and like January. There's no
any reason.
Yeah, there definitely is. Like, MMA fighters don't have like off seasons like how everybody does.
Right.
People are all excited, football's back. And as someone who doesn't watch football, I was like, oh yeah, they don't play for like a huge chunk of the year.
Yeah.
So MMA fighters can fight whenever. They could have one fight and then 2 weeks later have another fight if they really felt like it. You brought up Donald earlier. He did that a long time ago, probably back in like 2014, 2015. He had one fight and then literally 2 weeks later somebody needed an opponent and he's like, fuck it, I'll do it. And then he hopped in and he won both of those fights. Mm-hmm. However, for me personally, I don't like really fighting between October and like January, mainly because of the holiday season. A lot of people who know me very well know that I'm obsessed with Halloween and Halloween.
Yeah, I know that about
going every time that I can. And all the food offer.
Who is it? Freddy Krueger on your thigh, I think.
Of quite a few of those guys. I got Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger. I got the Demogorgon from Stranger Things. I got fucking Ghostface with Drew Barrymore on it.
Yeah. Frank has the leprechaun on his left butt cheek.
I do.
Chucky on his right.
Oh, really?
Dukes. Yeah. Chucky Dukes.
Yeah.
Chucky Dukes.
Chucky Dukes. Yeah. Of course, Alec doesn't know who Chucky Dukes is. He just got done telling you he doesn't watch football, asshole. I mean, he didn't call you asshole. I'm calling you asshole.
But I love all that stuff and I love enjoying it. I think I've had fights maybe scheduled around that time, and I just don't like the idea of going to these things and being restricted to what I can do.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, and being around like family and stuff for the holidays, like I don't want to like my mom's cooking all this amazing food. I don't want to be like, Mom, I can't do that. I have a fight.
Yeah.
It's a selfish sport, but in those senses, I don't want to be selfish anymore. I want to focus on just relaxing a bit during that time, and then anywhere between like late January on to like September, I'll do it. That's fine, and I could have a couple fights, but I just things happen where opponents pull out or I get injured. They just really
well, and coach, you do a ton of coaching too, hence why I call you coach. But you do, so you're like, you assume a role at the Jungle where, you're doing a ton of prep for other people to fight. And, you make sacrifices as a coach for the good of the guys you coach. And I don't think that, I don't think it's obvious to everyone, the sacrifices that are there. And then sometimes like, I mean, I've seen it with you where like you put fighters that trust you ahead of your own best interest. And you know, I appreciate it. I've seen it, and you know, whether they know or not, like you still that you still make the decision, and it always goes that way. And like I, for one, have always noticed that about you.
Well, yeah, I thank you. I try, like we said, it's a selfish sport. And I'm one of the main pad holders for pretty much anybody at the gym.
Yeah.
And, you know, Eric is there to help out. Drew and Lucas are there to help out. They're all of them are phenomenal with their pad holding, and they'll hold pads with each other too. But, you know, when it comes down to it, we got to set some time aside and come up with a game plan and all these call outs and everything like that in order to get the best results. That's like firsthand with me. I mean, you and I were getting there every day, you know, 5 or 6 days a week for 8 weeks at like 8 a.m. And it was like an hour and a half of just, you know, doing the warm up, doing the conditioning, doing your bike sprints, making sure there.
You dodging my sweat. Get your head movement going.
You are definitely one of the sweatiest people I've worked with. There's guys who probably have you beat, but yeah, man. Thankfully you were wearing boxing shoes a lot. It would have been slipping and sliding the whole.
Yeah. I would imagine it'd be even worse now that I have no hair on my head.
Shave that all off. I just further wouldn't absorb
it. Nothing at all. Oh yeah. Well, so Coach Alec, I gotta ask if with Halloween being the big one, what's the costume this year? Can we indulge the listeners?
I've thought about a couple things, but if I ever do dress up, I always keep it real simple. In the past, I've done stuff with like, you know, either girlfriends at the time or some friends. But you know, as a kid, I dressed up as Ghostface once from Scream, and I'll do that again. It's a good cheap costume. Everybody, it's simple and straightforward. There's some people who do real extravagant costumes that they spend months making. I just like the movies and like the theming and culture of like, but no, hard on making costumes. I don't do that. I don't got time for that.
Gotcha. I understand. I've seen, like, when we've gone to Halloween Horrors, I've not gone to Halloween Horrors with you. I went with some of the Jungle group, but I don't remember the year that I went, if you had gone or not.
Was you and Zaya there?
She might have been. I don't know. I don't remember her being there.
I remember Zaya went one year.
Yeah, I don't think that was the year I went.
It was great watching her get spooked by everybody. But yeah, I thought maybe you and her had gone that time.
No, I don't think I did. But I know I went the one year. For some reason, I remember Luke being there.
Yep.
Coach Mike, obviously. I want to say Josh. Remember Josh?
Which Josh?
Josh, who does the crazy fitness stuff.
No. Oh, Josh! That's those Josh.
Yeah, Josh Green, Frank. Josh Green.
Yeah.
My go-to back in the day when we were, you know, I was a bartender, and then I owned a piece of a bar for a while and stuff, and Halloween was a big night for us, and
huge.
I don't know, for some reason I used to always fall back on going in drag. I don't know what that says about me.
I think I can tell you, but I don't think we.
Yeah, luckily my wife is not a listener to the podcast, but, you know, so we'll just leave that out of, leave that out.
A lot of guys, particularly around your age, like Coach Mike, also did that plenty.
Did he really? All right.
I don't know if he'd appreciate me telling you that, but yeah.
That's all right. Frank has gone in drag as well. Little Bo Peep one year.
Oh,
I think this year you're doing Barbie, right? Barbie?
No.
Well, the movie and everything. You promised Rocco. You promised Rocco Dad was gonna go in drag, just so he's good and confused as he gets older.
No.
Oh, well, yeah. All right. I should stop before we already don't have a lot of listeners. I get us in trouble every episode. It's all right. It's all right. So, Coach, then what is next for you, other than Halloween? But what is next for you? Will you just kind of enjoy the holidays, coach a ton? Like do you have fighters that are fights upcoming?
Yes, sir. So coaching definitely is on the table again now. I got like 5 or 6 people with fights in October. So we've started that fight camp.
All MMA, or we got
we got a good mix.
Variety.
Boxers. There's going to be some MMA fighters. One of our kickboxers, Eddie, who I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Yep. He's fighting for a belt.
Okay.
And so we're
kickboxing belt.
Yes. And then actually this Saturday, the young man, Seven Perkins, is fighting for a Muay Thai title down in South Florida.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, he decided to take a short one on a step up on short notice for this guy. It's a tough opponent. It's a good opportunity.
Right.
If anybody could handle something like that, it's him.
It's him. Yeah. Yeah. This kid, guys, how old is Seven?
He's 18, going to be 19 in like 2 weeks.
18, wow. And he's just one of those guys who it comes so naturally to him. Like, I don't think he just doesn't realize how good he is. You know,
he's insanely good.
Yeah,
because I used to be able to beat him up, and I'm not old by any means, but fast, and he hits pretty hard now.
Yeah.
Like 4 years ago when he was much smaller and younger, it was a lot easier to just beat his ass, and now I can't anymore.
Yeah. Well, now, and I mean, he's just getting those man muscles, you know. He's just gonna grow into who he's gonna be. You know, it's crazy to think the window of that, your athletic prime. I think no sport has exposed it the way MMA has. Exposed the fact that like your athletic skills, they are diminishing once you pass, and so the experience, it's like a race against it, you know. Like I remember when they were doing the conversation about TRT Vitor, and it was like, you know, like the way that the universe balances it is when you don't have a lot of fights, you're on the come up and you're in your athletic prime, you're bigger, faster, stronger than you're ever going to be again. And then you do kind of get a number of these fights under your belt. You start to rely on the tricks of the trade and the experience because your bigger, faster, stronger attributes are on the decline. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's about meeting that elevator somewhere in the middle. And then even that, I think the UFC has shown everybody that like that window is what, for some people, 4 or 5 years.
It can be.
It's crazy.
Of somebody who rose so quickly and then declined also very quickly is Cody.
Who's that? Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's sad, bro. He was dominating everybody, and he beat up Cruz, which nobody had done. Like Uriah Faber and him back in the day had incredible fights, and Uriah out once when they fought, I think 2 more times, and Dominic Cruz beat him both times. But then he was just on a tear when he wasn't injured, and Cody made him look fucking weak.
Yeah.
And then then Cody was on top for a minute, and then got beat by TJ Dillashaw. And then it just, I don't know, he just kept going down and started getting knocked out, and his chin last at that point.
So do you think that might be because he had so many fights previous? Because wasn't he doing a ton of boxing growing up? And I'm not sure anybody keeps track of those rounds. And like, I think he's an age bracket where some of those gym wars, he probably had a few.
Yeah, that could definitely attribute to that for sure.
Yeah.
I about it all the time at the gym. Like, some of these guys are so obsessed with sparring all the time.
Yeah.
This fight camp, I think I sparred hard like 3 times.
Okay. Well, that was my next question, was how do you approach it? Like, how do you see it, especially considering that you coach and you fight?
Yeah.
What's your 2 cents on that?
I'm not a fan of hard sparring a lot. Do I think it's necessary? Sometimes, for sure. But people do it all the time. There's guys that will never miss that Tuesday night pro class where people just spar each other pretty decently hard. And, we're wearing the shin guards, the right gloves. Everyone's got a mouthpiece. Headgear does not help, so people should not wear that when they're sparring anyway. That only prevents like cuts. And as we learned from your fight camp, cuts happen.
Yes.
But so obsessed with getting a lot of sparring rounds in, but they don't want to do like the simple things, just like drilling or like pat times. I make a lot of them do that, and they don't argue against it. If I'm like, you're doing pads tonight, they're like, okay, but they don't always ask for it. Some of them do all the time, but anyway, I'm rambling on. But sparring hard is not something that you need to do a ton, especially when you're really young. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'll hop in there for people who have fights coming up, depending on who it is. But even then, I try and keep it below like 70% power for both of us. Certain people don't know how to hold their power back, so then I have to pick it up too. But it's just one of those things, man. I just want to be able to remember what my own name is when I'm like 50 or 60.
Not shitting or pissing your pants is probably a plus as an adult.
Yeah. Yourself.
What'd you say, Frank? It's overrated.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Frank enjoys it.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. Well, it's warm. It's warm for about 30 seconds, and then
it's gross. Then it's gross. What happens after that? It's just
and cold.
Yeah.
Cold.
Yeah.
I mean, I think. I don't know. I don't do it regularly. I'm not saying it's never happened. But I didn't do it tonight. I know that. I didn't do it.
Possible.
There's still time.
So, Coach, sparring, are you a fan of like the Thai style pitter pat sort of, like, don't like take like play?
Yes, 100%. People should do that more, but they don't know how to differentiate that from hard sport. They just see guys hitting each other, and people have this like fucking caveman brain, and it's like, oh, you hit me, I hit you, we go hard.
Right.
And then they just go. But that plan, people don't know how to really do that. And like, I try to emphasize that, especially to a lot of the fighters. Some people just have a issue controlling power, or it becomes like an ego thing. And I don't think there's a ton of that at our gym. There's maybe a couple of people that you could say that about. But I know at other places for sure, they have a big problem with that. I don't think places in Orlando, but there's some gyms in Florida or across the country that come to mind with just like, you just got to bang it out every time you spar. That's how you get real tough. And
they used to say that about what was the Beddendorf, right? What was it, Beddendorf, Iowa, or what was the camp where like Jens Pulver, Militich?
Oh, Pat Militich.
That was always well documented that like the wars that would go on there. Robbie Lawler came from Militich, I think, like early young Robbie Lawler.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you hear like Rogan talk about it and stuff a lot about just that. I don't think, you know, I think Rogan's kind of similar sentiment to what you just said. Like, it's, you know, don't fucking waste it in the gym. I hate to put it that way.
Right.
You know, but it is kind of wasting it because like in pro wrestling, we would call it a bump card. Everybody has this like imaginary bump card. And once you've taken your last bump, like you're out of bumps. And I think it's kind of the same thing with guys that you see them at some point get chinny or, you know, they just, the button's been touched too many times and now it doesn't take anywhere near as much.
You're 100% correct. Mike always says that you were given X amount of punches you could take here. For some people, it could be greater than 10,000. It could be less than that.
Right.
Like if you're only given the ability to take 10,000 punches and you use, you know, 300 of those every Tuesday night for fucking 4 weeks,
right.
8 weeks, you know, if you're getting hit that much now, this is just numbers we're making up, but like you only got so many. You just said it perfectly. And I think that runs out for some people faster than others. And
I think so too.
Some people could hold on to that for a long time, but got their day. And it's going to happen to all of us one day where just run out of that bump card.
Right.
I don't know. That's probably around the time that most people should just stop fighting, but they don't.
Yeah. Well, and I think if that's your strategy for going forward is like, okay, well, I'm just going to fight, you know, and I'm not necessarily going to ignore the damage, but like, I'm going to fucking put my head down and go. Like, it just, you know, you got to accept also like, my career will probably not be that long. And then you're going to have that, difficult conversation at some point if you've got people around you that care about you and love you. I mean, I go back to Brendan Schaub when they, you know, popped it on him on Rogan, and you know, but they were trying to do the right thing by the guy, you know, and you gotta appreciate that.
Yeah. It's definitely not an easy conversation to have with people now. I've never really had it with people. I've had the other difficult conversation where I've had to tell people, you know, I don't think you are ready to fight. I don't think you're doing well enough in this fight camp where you should fight. Like I'm afraid you're going to go out there and you're going to get your ass beat, and I would be a bad coach for letting you do that. And it's certainly not easy, but that is the right thing to do. Yeah, I would never send anybody out there who put in the work.
Do you feel like you get a lot of resistance from the people that you've had to have that conversation with?
No, mainly because I do it with other coaches as well, like either Coach Mike or Coach Drew. I've had those conversations with a fighter alongside one of those guys to help make it easier on everybody, really. If it was just me and that one person, they might think that, you know, I'm coming at them the wrong way or whatever. And I hope that, because I really only do have people's best interests in mind. And I don't think my record of morality shows otherwise, I guess. I don't know. I care about these guys and girls when they fight. You know, we've told people that, you know, they're getting better. We need a little bit more time before we jump into a fight camp. And that's an easy, you know, people are just like, okay, you know, you let me know when you think I'm ready. That's good. If anybody ever was like, no, I'm ready now, this and that, they don't last long at the gym anyway. They're like, I want to fight. And I'm like, you're not ready. They're like, why not? I'm like, because I said you're not. You don't do the things you need to do. You're not willing to put in the work. If I have to put it bluntly to somebody and say you're fucking soft or you're not, you suck, whatever it is,
Right.
Has done that in the past. We haven't had to do much of the last couple of years, but
yeah.
No, there's definitely been conversations had where it's like, no, we're not letting you do this.
Yeah. Self-awareness is not always a strong suit for everyone.
Yeah.
What's that process look like? Like, what's the timetable when you have to lower that boom on somebody?
Say that one more time.
So what's the time process when you have to lower the boom and have that conversation with somebody? What are the telltale signs that you might pick up on in a fight camp where you have to say, you know what, let's hold off on a fight?
Gotcha. So with a more recent example, there's a guy who was getting ready for a fight, and he was probably about 4 or 5 weeks into his fight camp, and that's generally about 8 weeks. I want to say it was more around the 4-week mark. And or maybe 5 if I remember correctly. Anyway, he was putting in the work, doing the conditioning, doing the pad work, but when it just came down to sparring and implementing technique and just showing like the grit that you need to have and like just being a dog in there when you're sparring, it didn't come out ever. And we got very worried at one point that, it was just going to be like he got into the fight, would freeze up, and then just get like head kicked, and that would be it.
Was this a first fight for this guy?
No, it is not, actually. He had fights previous, but it had been a few years since he had fought.
Okay.
But yeah, we had that conversation. And just as I told you guys earlier, I told him, I was like, I'd be a bad coach if I sent you out there thinking you were going to be ready for it. And he was very understanding. He's focusing a lot on work right now, and he'll still come for a while. I would love for this person to fight. I really would. He's an extremely hard worker. Those little X factors that you can't really teach. You can't really teach somebody to be tougher, I guess. You can give tough love and make them a little more hard shelled, but
right.
I don't know. You gotta if you get hit, you can't be scared of that. Right. You gotta almost have this sick you get hit and you're hit me again. I dare. Yeah.
It's a Rocky mentality.
I think you hit it spot on, Coach. I think anybody who gets into martial arts, I think you in the back of your mind, you want to know, okay, well, I want to try this shit on somebody. I want to try it out. And I think as long as both people are in agreement that okay, we're going to do this. But I think that it's just that it's, as old as the beginning of time, answering that question when the shit hits the fan. Am I going to look for a way out, or am I going to wade in guns blazing? And I think pretty early that first time you spar or something, and you get hit and you either want to lean back in, possibly get hit again, but now you're in the danger zone where you can get it back, or you're looking for that exit.
I think people like the idea of saying fight coming up, and they like the things that come along with that. Oh yeah, man, you're going to kill it. You're going to do good. They get luck, and they get a fight poster and this and that. But yeah, I don't know when it comes down to it, when it's fight night, I think some people do have that an exit type of thing. And nobody in our team, I don't think, does that. Have we seen that people in the area or in fights in general? Yeah. Oh yeah. When you go to amateur fights, anybody can just fight. Anybody can sign up and do it. They don't have to be a part of a team. They don't have to show up with a fucking coach. They can just show up.
Right. They can show up with their plumber.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been, his assistant.
Oh yeah. We've seen people show up to fights and they're just like, hey, I don't have a coach or anything. Could somebody corner me? And We have rarely ever come across that. It's happened probably like 2 or 3 times out of a lot of fights I've been to now. So yeah, a lot of the time, if they ask us, we might just say no, just because we have so many people fighting already. Like, I'm not using my time and energy for you. I don't know you. I have 7, 8, sometimes 10 people on a fight card.
Right.
No time for you. I'm sorry. You should have been more prepared. I have who need us, who need me, and right now, and you're not my priority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's, it's kind of like you see it on the roads all the time, people honking and like flipping people off and like, yeah, pull over, I'll fuck you up. And it's like, I don't know. Today's it's a dangerous place to go doing that. There's MMA's pretty popular, and people are awfully brave in the confines of their vehicle. Like somehow that becomes, it's kind of like being on Twitter.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you want in your car.
Yeah. As I've grown up a little bit more over the years, I try to avoid all confrontations like that.
Yeah.
Now, if it came down to it and somebody was attacking a friend or my girlfriend or something, oh yeah, I'm gonna fuck them up. But like, I'm not getting into this like frat boy shove you, push back and forth, and then there's a brawl and a street fight. And plus, in the street, people carry knives and guns, and there's a lot of guns. I'm not going to get shot over a street fight. I'm not dying because I bumped into you at the bar.
Right. There's
people who just are like this, and it's sick, bro. It's disgusting. So I tell people all the time, I'm like, they're like, have you been? People have asked me like, you been in street fights? I was like, not since I was in like high school, dude. Fuck, that is not it. That's not the answer.
Yeah. Frank had this way. He became known around town. Frank had this way of diffusing those situations. Dennis, tell me if you remember this. But like Frank would get into the pushing and the shoving. And then when it really was like reaching the crescendo, like Frank would just start making out with the guy. And everything would just cease and people were just like, what's going on? And then Frank would, jump in he would jump in somebody's car and they would drive off like they just
total stranger.
Yeah.
Drive.
Go.
Are you guys familiar with the show Blue Mountain State?
What is it?
The show Blue Mountain State?
No.
If you guys are, you might know what I'm talking about.
Is it on regular TV? Or is it?
It's an old show now. It was popular like 12 years ago when I was in high school.
Say the name again?
Blue Mountain State.
Oh, yeah.
The football one.
Yes.
Yeah. Frank was too busy saying Bukkake Lounge up there. I couldn't hear our guest. Frank's got a bar in Japan called the Bukkake Lounge.
Sammy gets into like a confrontation at a bar in one episode, and it's this big dude. He's like, you just threw a bottle at me or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to fuck you up. And Sammy just goes, yeah, I'll jerk you off. But he's like, I'll jerk you off right now. And, the whole bar is just like, jerk him off. And the guy's like looking around all confused, like, fuck this, and walks away. Like, he's like, that's how you handle a street fight. You're like, whatever he says. But yeah. That made me think of that. That shit was funny.
Yeah. Keep it unpredictable. That's what Frank used to always say.
Still does.
Unpredictable. Yeah. Yeah. So, Coach, if the opportunity would it have to be the right scenario for you to do something outside of MMA? Like, would you take a boxing match? Would you take a kickboxing match at this point?
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
If the good opportunities come up,
right.
A free trip somewhere could come up. That sounds fun.
Yes, sir. Always.
Yeah, definitely the right circumstances. Is any of that on my radar right now? No, I'm focusing on MMA is way easier than Muay Thai fights or kickboxing fights.
Really?
I haven't had a fight, but yeah, there's just
why? What? Tell me. Tell us.
Tell me why.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I would say the training leading up to an MMA fight is harder, but I would say that the actual fight itself is way easier than kickboxing or Muay Thai.
Okay. So you are a striker first, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I mean that is what I'm best at.
Right. And do you think that it'll kind of always be that way, or do you think that like one is catching up with the other?
I do think my brain is naturally wired to understand striking a lot more. When it comes to grappling, I have to do something a billion times in order for it to stick and understand. Still have a coach in my ear, maybe reminding me of the specific. With striking techniques over the years, I've just been able to kind of look at it on a video a couple of times if I want to try it and maybe figure it out. And that's not everything, but I don't talk about this very often. But the first time I ever tried a cartwheel kick that Sanchai does, I just watched how he did it because he's southpaw, so I had to flip it. And I was like, okay, he's putting his right hand down. His hips are getting way above his head. Both legs come off the floor. He goes there and he comes back. He's not going all the way around. I was like, try this. And I just did it on a bag. And I was like, okay,
I can do this.
Yeah. That's fine. And now the cartwheel kick isn't like actually super hard when it comes down to it. It's just kind of fun. But those are just little examples of things that I've looked at. I'm like, oh, I like that. I like figuring it out. I can do that. I was like, oh, all he did was, if it's a different technique, all he did was push off his left foot really hard. The shift that we had you practicing going from southpaw to orthodox.
Yep.
That was just something I saw a different fighter doing, and I was like, that's cool. I'm going to practice that.
Right. I saw, I remember when it was after Dominic Cruz got a lot of attention for his footwork, blah, blah, blah. But, and I know you are a fan of this too, Dwayne Ludwig's system. When I really started to almost become enamored with what TJ Dillashaw was doing with Dwayne's system. And it was moving combinations. And if you backed up, it was almost like he never stopped. He had, add-ons that would continue. And then if you did stop, well, now he's close enough to wrestle you. So it was like, pick your poison. And it really was like, okay, train's coming. You got to decide whether you're going to stay on the tracks or you're going to get off. And I just thought that was always those moving combinations, man. There's something just so visually satisfying to me. About them.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a very cool aesthetic with watching TJ move and his chemistry that he has with Dwayne Ludwig when they hit pad.
Oh yeah, fuck. What do they call it? Like a pad porn or something? Yeah.
Been up there. That was that's a good way to describe it. Yeah, there's
I think that's a term, Coach. I think that's out there. Yeah, I think pad.
Fucking beautiful, man. When you watch these guys, and there's definitely that chemistry you can have with somebody when they're hitting or if they're holding for you that you can't have with everybody. I'm trying to build that with some of these other fighters. Pads for me. But I have it down with so many of them when I hold pads for them.
Right.
For instance, when he's got his fight coming up. That dude knows exactly what I want all the time.
I didn't hear the name, Coach. Who was it? Seven. Okay, yeah.
He's got his fight coming up. If I hold pads for him, he knows exactly what I want, when I want it, how I want it. No questions behind it. And if it doesn't look right, he kind of knows on his own head that it doesn't look right. Same with another guy, Chris. He's 7-0. He's had a lot of his fights with us. He moved out to Colorado and had some fights out there, and then he moved back.
Okay.
But he's 7-0, and him and I understand each other very well.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid to ask questions and come up with new ideas and new combinations, that make sense, that aren't just too fancy.
Right.
That would probably be my one complaint with like Dwayne Ludwig stuff, is some of it is just, it's too visually pleasing to the point where it's just not realistic.
Oh, really? Wow.
I mean, that, in my opinion, I do think that a lot of it is awesome. So much of it, I'd say like 70% of it at least, is very realistic and very applicable to the sport. And then there's some of it that just is, it's fancy flow combos where maybe the pad holder is doing more of the work for the fighter.
Right.
And there's some application in there, but it's just fun. There's nothing wrong with having fun with pads.
No, definitely not. I mean, that's interesting. That's interesting coming from a coach who is currently fighting and, obviously has respect for Dwayne and the system and all that. I mean, I've been to and I know you, so.
I've been to his seminars twice now. I'm a huge fan, of course. However, when there's like a 30 strike combo pad holding, technique, that's just too much, Now
you're getting into pro wrestling territory. Let's save that for the professionals, Frank.
Yeah.
Do you know any professional wrestlers, Frank?
No.
Me either. Me either. So, Coach, if obviously you're a fan of other fighters and whatnot, but so coaches that are out there in the MMA world, I know earlier you had said call outs, and I know we had a few call outs in my fight in Dubai. Where was that? Is that something you came up with, or is that something you borrowed? Did you see that and kind of go, okay, well, yeah, we'll mimic that? What's the story on the call outs?
So I've definitely got influence from certain things. However, I've noticed I'm one of the only people in the local area who uses call outs names. And even some of the people who work for Combat Night have come up to me and told me they try and decipher it. And I'm like, okay, that's good. That people are struggling to figure it out a bit, but they eventually do after they hear me 30
Sure.
It
right.
If I say a call out and they throw this particular thing, and every time it lands I celebrate, people are gonna figure it out. But it was definitely something. Dwayne Ludwig system, the body stuff, one body. I remember hearing that when he would corner TJ, I think when he fought Renan Barao back in the day, and that's the jab to the head, jab to the body, and then a nice overhand to finish.
Yeah,
and dropped Renan Barao back then.
It did. I remember that fight. Yeah.
And so that was fantastic. I was like, okay, you hear some fighters and coaches, they're just jab, low kick. Okay. You can, if they're loud enough, especially everybody can hear that. And loud as shit. Everybody can hear me in that room. You could hear me very well, I think, in your boxing fight.
Yeah.
And everybody in these for Combat Night and stuff, they tell me that they can hear me very well. And some of them are like, I only focus on your voice. I'm like, that's good. That's what you should. I'm glad I'm loud enough where you can hear that. But yeah, once these guys really understand the combination and understand, that I can see it where they might not be able to, and they have that trust and just use it, it's phenomenal. Now, I have to cater to everybody's style a bit. I can't train certain people the same way that I train others, especially if it's MMA versus kickboxing or Muay Thai.
Right.
Even then, with the kickboxers, let's say, not all of them fight the same. Certain things are necessary, like they have to punch and they have to kick. So certain combos follow that same formula. And then other call outs might be more like defensive, or depending if they're really flexible, what can they do if they have abilities to spin and do crazy shit there or not. Some people are very straightforward. And then other people like Izzy, my dude who fought this last Saturday with me, he and Chris have probably the most call outs, along with like 7 and maybe other guys, but there's like literally like 12 different call outs for some of these guys, and I have a hard time keeping track of all of them.
Right. I bet. Well, and then you got your own, like, are there call outs that get returned to you for your fights?
Yes. Drew is one of my main people with pad holding. And him and I share a lot of the same stuff.
Sure.
We can do anything with each other. Him and I have amazing chemistry when it comes to pad holding, with me holding for him and him holding for me. But yeah, we have all very similar call outs in general, some more specific for other people. It depends on the opponent too. If I'm fighting a dude way shorter than me, I'm not going to be throwing overhands at him. So we're not going to use as overhands. It'll be more uppercuts. If I have a guy way taller than me, then overhands, sure. But thankfully, I'm always usually taller than my opponents. I hate them. The uppercuts.
So, and that for the novice, like, we'll break that down a little bit. So for you, an easy weight cut would be what? Like, because you did this fight at 135. Yeah. You feel comfortable fighting at, let's list the weight classes that you would feel comfortable fighting at.
135, and then I fought 45 a long time ago, but I wasn't really cutting a lot to get to that. Right now, currently 135 is really the only one that I would really consider doing. I fought at 140 twice now. I won the first one at 140. I lost the second one at 140. And I didn't feel like I had a disadvantage with size or strength doing that. I still felt pretty good. But both times now that I fought at 135 have been first round finishes.
Right.
The math is there. If I fight at 35, I do better. If I fight at 140, I've finished a guy, then I've lost a decision.
Right. So do you just trust the math now as kind of your guide, just because, I mean, there's so many variables that you could, and I'm a classic overthinker. So like, I could think myself into paralysis. Like, if I do this, but then what if it's for that? And maybe it's because I don't do this. Like, I can quickly turn myself into a basket case.
I've seen this side of you where you love to put a lot of brain power to something.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. It's awesome. It's really great.
Yeah. Frank, I'm going to need you to shut the fuck up. D Scott, how you doing up there in the Below Me Lounge?
It's the Below Me Lounge is right next door to the Bukaki Lounge.
Yes, it's right next to it. It's to the left.
Yeah.
Take a left.
They got a great box lunch.
And there's the Below Me Lounge.
Oh, boy.
These are places you want to avoid, Coach. You don't want to go to either.
Help me
don't
out.
Want to go to either. Yeah. So, what is next? You have the fights that you are coaching, and then when do you see yourself getting back? Like, so this is an interim title. Do you then have to defend it, or will there be a
unification
fight of some kind to determine the guy that did not fight you? What happens with him? Like, fight, right?
So him and I were supposed to fight. He was the actual champion of the promotion. He hurt his shoulder. The matchmaker knows that when I fight, I bring a lot to the table.
Right.
Me being a coach in the area, I guess putting me on a pedestal, me being who I am with the fight community in Orlando. I'm a very young coach and I still fight. People know me, and you know, I sell a lot of tickets. I bring a lot of people to fights. Half that damn room that was that the fights were in were people that were there for me.
Right.
And for Izzy, I guess too, you know, all jungle people. But he knew he had to get me a fight, and he still wanted to make it for a belt.
Right. Okay.
All right. And that was fine. I didn't mind. You know, it's cool. However, whether I fought the actual champion or this other guy that I did end up fighting, that was going to be my last AMI fight. It is time to venture on to the pros, and
so that was an amateur title.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
think about me a lot. They think I'm a pro fighter. I'm not. I took a long time to get into amateur MMA.
Right.
I didn't fight for 3 years at one point. Between doing kickboxing and then jumping into MMA, there was like a 3-year break. It wasn't supposed to be, but it happened that way due to many things, including depression and then the pandemic. So there was a lot of things that played a part into why I didn't fight for so long, but I knew I had to cut that shit out and get back in there because and it's great. But yeah, so now the goal is to go pro, hopefully in March. If a good opportunity comes sooner than that, but I'm really just trying to elbow some motherfuckers and knee them in the face and really put those pro rules to my advantage. Because
me too.
That fight I lost as an amateur, that dude pushed me the cage a lot, and he wouldn't have held me there if I had elbows. I would have been smashed in the face, but you just don't have the right angle for power if you're just punching him. But if I was elbows in there, it'd be really bad for him. So I think pro rules are only going to play to my advantage, especially fighting at 5. I can knee people in the face if they run forward at me. I can elbows. If I'm on top of them, I can elbow them. If they're pushing me against the cage, I can elbow them. There's just so many places where I can just make this so much better and easier for myself and everybody else.
Yeah, there's still something a little bit cringy about the elbows. And you know, like I throw them in pads and everything all the time. And you know, and as an avid MMA fan, there is a point when somebody is mounted and the elbows start coming where like you cringe a little bit for the person on the receiving end, because like that hurts. You know, that slash that's gonna open them up big. It
fucking
time.
hurts.
But I think it's even, I don't know, Coach, you would speak to this more educated than I would, but it's not even so much like the pain. I think it's the idea that like it's a razor being swung at your face.
It can be
like it's going to cut you if you take one too many, and that can come anywhere from number 1 through 18.
Yeah.
You know, it only takes once. And it's a horror movie. So,
you know, Felicia Spencer,
yes,
she fought Chris Cyborg, and Chris Cyborg had never been cut open in her entire MMA career until she fought Felicia, and she threw a fucking lead Superman elbow, her left one, and there's a little scar right above her eyebrow on, I guess that would be her right side eye. From Felicia cutting her open from one of those. And that was just the first elbow of the fight, I believe. But yeah, it can just be devastating. And sometimes, you know, people are hammering elbows. They might be hitting more with like the forearm rather than like the point. Do damage, and it'll hurt like a bitch. But sometimes they don't always cut, but yeah, when you just get that thing that just glides across a bit more, that's when it's gonna slice you open.
Yeah.
When they sound like they're hitting, it'll do damage, but it's not gonna cut you. When it's like you barely
look at those fucking dinosaur bones you got on your arms there. Those fucking look at those things.
I got the tall, skinny boy look right now.
Yeah.
I'm not fat again just yet, but
you're working on it already.
Oh, the thing I wanted more than anything was like McDonald's after this fight. And,
oh Jesus!
Yeah, I ate it, and food at Halloween Horror Nights on Sunday. I had brownies, churros, I had pizza, I had poutine.
Sure.
I had Olive Garden leftovers.
Man, my man shit his pants.
Dude, I was 160 pounds Sunday night when I got home, and then Friday when I weighed in, I was 135.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. Well, it's like
wait.
Patty the Batty. When you get up to like 205, and then he fights at like 145.
Guy, right? He's special with his. He takes it to a whole nother extreme.
Yes, exactly. But I guess that's what that's what your youth is for. It's for making mistakes, because then you either learn from them or you repeat them. And if you repeat them, usually you die. So, at least that's what I've seen.
Bad things happen.
Yeah. Yes. All right. So, Coach, where can the listeners find you on social media? Obviously, they can go to the Jungle in Orlando, Florida on Colonial, correct?
Fair. Yep.
And they can receive some expert coaching. Not that I'm anyone, but like I co-sign it 100%. When it came time to have the boxing fight that I had, I remember early on, like mentioning to you, hey, do you guys know any boxing trainers or whatever? And then we started the conversation, and then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, well, I'm not so good that like I need to have like next level coaching. And fucking Coach Alec, other than being younger than me, has probably forgotten more technique than I'm ever gonna fucking know. So what am I doing? Like my trainer's right here in front of me. And I don't want some asshole I barely know coming to Dubai with my wife and I either. So,
but I do appreciate the level of trust that you have with me there. It really did mean a lot, man. It was a lot of fun. I think we did a lot of good work. Man, you got out there, you did the thing, you won.
But what felt like you ended the amateur run with the I mean, really, it's poetic. There's no better way to I win the title and now I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm on to greener pastures.
I'm excited, man. It's cool knowing that the next step is going to be a professional MMA fighter. After coaching several at this point, finally do it.
So how many pros will the Jungle have at this point? Like Lucas is pro, right?
There's probably I would say 7 or 8 solid pros who have competed within the last few years at least. Some people have taken a little break and they may or may not come back to it. That's totally fine. And then, but we have a lot coming up. With me, Jeremy is going to be hopping into it. Somebody else, some of these kickboxers sooner than later will be hopping into it. I'm excited for that because
hopping into it to go pro kickboxing.
Yeah, within the next year or so, there's a few of them that could do it. Whenever they feel ready, whenever we get opportunities, that time will come. Because we don't really have a lot of pro just strikers. We have a lot of MMA fighters, but I'm excited to build that army of these young guys and girls who want to go pro with it and
right.
get that shit going.
So what would that be? Would that be like Glory? Would that be, I don't know. Do they even still do, what was the Muay Thai?
Lion fights.
Lion fights. Do they still do that?
I think I'd have to look into it a little bit deeper, but I do know Combat Night has had pro kickboxing. I do know that that we could go out of state somewhere, and I'm
right. Combat Night has done pro kickboxing, huh? They just did it in the cage.
Yeah. Guy Brandon Waters, fighting out of Kaizen in Tampa, had a pro kickboxing fight. I think it was kickboxing or Muay Thai, but I do believe they do more just kickboxing over.
And how does one land the kickboxing fight on Combat Night?
You just have to talk to the matchmaker and promoter
and negotiate a payday.
I guess so. Yeah. At first, I didn't see where you were going with that, but now I do see where you're going with that a little bit.
I don't know. Just something to think about, Frank. Just something to think about. Yep.
You want to fight Frank?
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
I'll do the tailgate.
But we're fighting at 135.
Oh,
my
fuck.
ass.
Fuck.
Good luck with
Fuck
that.
Frank.
Good luck with that.
Fuck. Frank is fucked.
You have to cut off that giant ass head of yours, Bobby, and then
Yeah. Well, I mean, I took the hair off. I'm getting started. I got started. Coach, the socials. Where are you on the old Instagram?
Yep.
Are you on TikTok?
No, TikTok. No, I have a personal one, but I leave that straight for just my own entertainment.
Yeah.
Okay. On Instagram, it's at abrooks6782. You'll find me on the Jungles page as well. They just posted me with the belt. The Jungle MMA on Instagram.
Nice.
You find me on there. If anybody wanted to come give me a follow and watch the journey unfold, cool. I'm all about.
Hell yeah. Well, Coach, I think we definitely get you back on here for any number of reasons. Excited for that pro debut, wherever that's going to be. Sad that I didn't end up making it to this one. My wife and I were coming out. It was her idea. And then we had a babysitter thing fall through, and so that ruined it. But yeah, man, just excited to see what comes next, and need to get back out there and get some training in.
Yes,
I miss it.
We all miss you, man. You're always a good energy to have in the gym.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, you're right. I'm good. Come on, Frank. You need to tell me more often, Frank. Like, this is a good friend. He builds me up. Makes me feel good about myself. You tell me how stupid I am all the time.
Frank, I didn't realize Frank's job here was to stroke your ego, but I guess we can
get
that.
Yeah, I mean, Dennis, we don't tell you everything. You're on a need to know basis.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So,
well, guys, right. I appreciate you having me on. I really do.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wrap up.
Thank you.
Go put down like a pizza and a bowl of ice cream, and
you read my mind. We literally got pizza, got ice cream, and
you go get it and tell your lady we said hello, and go eat some ice cream.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Enjoy.
Thank you, guys.
Champ.
Thank you, champ.
All right. Appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. And he's gone. Now it's the three of us.
It is. I hate this part.
We've got some.
Because Frank takes the lead and just doesn't shut up.
I think
go ahead, Frank. Continue.
Remiss if Dennis and I didn't talk about the other elephant in the room, and that's Phil McCracken got
Dumbo?
fired from Phil
Dumbo?
McCracken was fired
Dumbo.
from AEW.
Phil McCracken.
Yeah.
That's
Originally,
a Mike Wilson. That's a Mike Wilson special right there.
Phil McCracken?
Phil McCracken.
Phil who? Phil McCracken.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike loves that one.
Frank has a hot take on it. I honestly,
Okay,
I'm just fucking over talking, like seeing stuff about him and talking about him because, quite honestly, outside of all the fucking lunatics that think he's God's gift to the fucking sport that you love, I think he's a fucking waste of time. So go ahead, Frank.
here's a hot. Wow, that came in hot.
Yeah.
That was like, jeez.
Dennis had a hot take.
Wow,
Yeah.
I guess so.
For you, Frank.
Your turn.
Yeah, good.
Now you go.
So, Survivor Series this year is in Chicago.
Okay.
Punk shows up in Chicago. He's got a 6-month run in the WWE. He's a model citizen. He'll feud with Kevin Owens, maybe a match with Cody at Mania, and that'll be it. You won't hear a peep out of him. Why is that? Because the WWE machine can control him. And would it be the ultimate FU to AEW where he just is perfect? Model citizen. Good dude. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this, which I don't really want to have a comment on this, but I don't know that he has an axe to grind with AEW. I don't know that, he could. Tony has given him every opportunity for him to not be an asshole. I mean, more opportunities than most people probably deserve. And, he forced his hand all the way to the point where it's actually happened. And, the mistake that I think is most apparent to me is that, Tony kind of spread out the onus of the decision, where I think, AEW is your company, and the TV time that guys get, that's your TV time, meaning Tony Khan. So like, that's part of the issue I had with the pro-life shirt or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It's somebody else's TV time. So it's irresponsible. And I think with this one, with Tony was like making the right move because he was pushed to that limit, but then apologizing for making that move over and over, in my opinion, it kind of undercuts the decision itself. Because what the message is that you need to be, and listen, I don't own a wrestling company and I'm not fucking rich. My father doesn't own football teams and stuff. So who am I to have an opinion on it? But I do feel like the message that his reveal of what was going to happen with Phil, the message that it sends to the rest of the locker room is like, I don't know, like you could, I don't know how much of a deterrent that was.
That's an outstanding point.
Because, it's with a heavy heart that I come on and make this decision, and like I'm paraphrasing and probably adding words or whatever, but, a heavy heart, my ass, like the guy violated just common rules of society, not only the ones that you gave him every friggin' chance. I mean, you sat at a press conference while he ate brownies, which is just super unprofessional to begin with. I'm like, okay, so like you're gonna like fly in the face of authority. Well, how about not eating with your mouth full? asshole. I mean, that's just polite. How about being polite?
I have a saying.
What's
I'm
that?
going to cut you up. I've got a saying. It's a saying I live by. We don't fire people. People fire themselves. And he fired himself. Thank you. Bang Biscuit. Go ahead.
There we go.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Dennis, how do you follow that? You don't.
I don't know.
It's a true statement.
Well, yes, and
I'm
the
not
thing
saying
is,
it's not.
to kind of piggyback off of what Bobby was saying too, to come on and apologize for having to fire someone that did something wrong. Like, you don't have to fucking do that. It's, you just go, yeah, we fired him.
Own it. Own it.
That's why we
Own it.
fired him. He's gone. Sorry.
Own it.
You know why. Everybody fucking knows why.
Right.
At least we have
Do it.
a portion of the story.
Right.
But you made a decision based for your company, the one that you own. I don't ever remember hearing Vince ever go, I'd like to apologize, but I had to fire, wrestler X because sorry about that. Like, no,
Right.
I had to fire him. That's why.
Well, I think
'Cause I did.
that's the message you want to send to the rest of the locker room is that, like, hey, listen, this won't be tolerated.
Right.
And that's not the message that was sent to the rest of the locker room. Therefore, you need to have a leader, right? There needs to be a leader, and Tony is the leader. And
It should be.
You got to have faith in your leader, and I don't know. That's it. It's like he did the right thing, but I feel like he kind of cut his own legs out. And I don't know if that was because he didn't know, or if it was, I would think there should be people in advisory positions that would say, hey, maybe, but I don't know. Again, above my pay grade.
And he went out, and it could have been perhaps too because he was going out in front of a Chicago crowd and had to tell them, hey, look, Phil's not going to be here tonight. Here's the reason why. And maybe it was just because it was Chicago. So he was trying to step and fetch to keep all of these people as happy as he could while telling them that their boy, although it's strange that I would like to, I mean, obviously we don't know the full story, like I said, but Jack Perry's just suspended indefinitely. Yeah. And Phil is gone. Sort of. His merch is still available on their website, by the way, though. But so there's that.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
I revert back to last week. Is it a work?
It'd be great. Like, I mean, truly, I would love nothing more than for all of it to be a work. I really would. And it would be just an epic, like, I mean, I would say it, I would state it emphatically, like, holy shit, you guys are amazing. Like, you just took it to a whole new level.
And if it is, I eat all the words I said earlier about him not being worth our fucking time and effort, because they're like, gotcha, bitch. So
yeah.
I don't think there is a breathing soul in that company who has the gumption to come up with that thought process of doing that angle or storyline, whatever you want to call it.
Be pretty cool.
Well, then for anybody that's fucking listening, I'm available for hire.
Yeah,
because I came up with it.
Cool.
Came up with it in my stupid head.
It'd be ingenious. Don't get me wrong, but there's nobody in that company who said, you know what, I got an idea here.
Yeah.
You know what we should do? We should piss off 80% of our fan base by firing this guy.
I feel like, when somebody takes their money and they're willing to give it to you, such a large sum of it, to do this job, and it's not a difficult job, and then when you just can't keep the cart on the tracks, and there's no amount, like, you can't be saved from yourself, so to speak. I think it was Kevin Nash.
I was just going to say that.
Said something about maybe potential, like, mental health issues and whatnot. And I don't know, nor do I really care. Because, like, I mean, my feelings towards the man are documented.
They're well documented. And
Yeah, it just is what it is. But I don't hate anyone. I don't, I don't wish ill will upon him. But I just think that, to put your boss in that position as often as you did, and then for his fans to still like give him the pass and condone it and stuff, it's like, who's the bigger loser, him or you guys for supporting it?
I think I've made this comparison before. Punk fans are like Donald Trump supporters. Doesn't matter what they do, they're still going to be at their back.
I don't know, man. At some point, like, you got to be just that. You got to be a man. I read something.
I read something once too.
I read one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. I read that.
Nice.
Twice, Frank. Twice. I read it and enjoyed it so much.
You read it again
a second time. Right.
Well done.
But there was some sort of analogy made of like Jack Perry, the Undertaker.
Oh,
as
yeah,
the locker room leader. He gave him advice and blah blah blah, and then he didn't take it, and he said to the screen, said into the monitor, how's that for your advice or whatever, and whatever it was, and it was painting the picture of like the Undertaker, right, would have smashed him. But the glaring difference here is that the Undertaker didn't make himself the locker room leader. That's not a position you bestow upon yourself. Like, it happens gradually by the process of, the boys, they select who that is. And I was in the position more than once in the AEW locker room where Phil McCracken took that posture, and I let him know in no uncertain terms, like, not with me. I think that's the major difference here. That's the problem. You don't get to select yourself the leader. Leaders don't pick themselves. It's the peers and the people around them that go like, yeah, I'll get in a foxhole with that guy. I think that's the missing piece. I think that's the problem with him, taking the position he has taken. And it just, and unfortunately it's been the talk of the wrestling world for who knows. And it like overshadowed Wembley, which was this huge thing for right. And like Tony, like, I don't know,
and he tried really hard to kind of get the focus back on the attendance and all the shit that they did, which was great for what they did, but nobody wanted to talk about all that shit. They wanted to talk about what Phil did backstage. And it's like, man, again, you put your company in this shit position for your stupid ass actions of whatever they were backstage, that as far as we know, none of us know the real story. So
right. Well, none of us are gonna know. And it's like, okay, well, what? I mean, is the fiction that's out on screen, is that not enough for you that you need to like, you're more turned on by the fiction off screen because you think it's not fiction? Like, come on, I mean, where does the line get drawn?
I'm still confused by all the people that are. I mean, if everything that's being said about what he did backstage were true, it's kind of going back to what Frank said. Like, how often does someone have to show you that he's an asshole before you start to believe that he's a fucking asshole?
Yeah.
Like,
well, then that's where it becomes hard for the rest of the locker room to put any faith in their leader to do the right thing. You know, like, yeah, it's your company, but if you don't respect the company enough to not let this guy basically, you know, rape your company from inside, I mean, what kind of faith can they have in you moving forward that when, you know, times get tough and the difficult decision needs to be made, that, you know, that how can, I don't know. I mean, it'd be only natural to have a hard time putting faith in the fact that, like, yeah, he'll steer the ship. He'll get us there, you know? And meanwhile, like saying, you know, like I was afraid for my life. I was afraid for the first time in company history. I was afraid for my life. Like, I don't know, dude, you're the leader of this company. Phil showed the world on pay-per-view that he would struggle with you know, fighting his way out of a wet paper bag. Like, the wet paper bag was got a, you know, pretty good odds. I think DraftKings would put the wet paper bag, you know, as like Phil would be the underdog. So you were, I mean, I would be afraid maybe that he's going to steal your brownies. Wasn't that what he was eating at the press conference? Like,
They
you know?
like brownies.
I think they were muffins, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
They were a baked good of some kind.
Right. So maybe you should be fearful of him stealing your baked goods. I get that. And if Tony had, you know, I mean, they could have come from Mrs. Khan at home, you know, baking. She slaved over a hot stove or you know, a oven all day long, and then here comes
McCracken.
Yep, Cookie Monster Phil. Cookie Monster Phil to steal all my goodies.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Fucker stealing the goddamn baked goods. Anyway, we spent far too long. The best part is it's an hour and a half of this show. We did over an hour with Coach Alec. The only thing that people are going to pick up on, and that's in those stupid fucking dirt sheets, is the last 25 minutes of what we talked about.
And we gave it to him.
Yep.
And that's your fault, Frank. That's your fault.
It's fine. The best part is they won't acknowledge what Frank and I say. Just you. Don't worry about it.
Just me.
You're the only one hating. They're like, oh, by the way, it was brought up, sons of bitches.
But he was right.
I'm the piece of shit.
Who was right?
The guy below me.
The guy below.
Some bitch called it a year ago. He called it a year ago. He stuck by his guns. He won't say it, but I'll say it. He was right. He was right.
Yeah.
More than anything, Dick Fish did not raise a push.
I thought you were gonna call me Dick Face.
Dick Fish. That's interesting, Dick. Yeah. He did not raise a pushover, man. I'm not gonna. Somebody's not gonna reveal themselves, and I'm not gonna ignore it, you know, so that I can keep my paycheck.
Have no fear. We're just trying to stay relevant, and we're hating. That's all.
Of course.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if 75 other people say the same shit. Yeah. The three of us just said Bobby's trying to stay relevant and Bobby's hating.
Right. So trying to stay relevant by saying that he's not a good athlete, which I don't know how you can look at anything the man does and think like, I don't know.
Well, for the sake of professional wrestling, I hope AEW continues to do well, and that the WWE continues to be pushed by what they're doing. We're getting some good shit. We're getting good shit from, well, both companies.
Yeah. I mean, again, not to beat the dead horse, but main event Jay comes back and like, man, there's just so many layers to that story. But then the spinoffs.
Sami Zayn.
It's
Sammy.
insane, right? Sammy and Jay their interaction was so compelling the other night. It was like
And
we
they
were
can
watching
go.
it. Go ahead.
They can go in a million different directions too, because even if it's not
Yeah.
Sammy and Jay, they're basically just saying all the people that the bloodline rubbed the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to deal with who knows.
Mm-hmm.
Drew McIntyre.
Do yourself a favor. Go if you haven't already. Watch the tag match with the Judgment Day and Sammy and Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I already watched it. Frank.
Did you like it? Who cares?
And not for nothing, Frank's Man Crush got the John Cena rub Monday night as well. The passing, or was it Monday or whenever it was? The quote unquote passing of the torch.
Yeah.
Because we all know
it's LA Knight's game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's bedtime, boys.
I think so too. This is a late one.
Yeah.
BobbyFishApparel.com for all your Bobby Fish apparel needs.
I got to work out at 5 a.m.
I got to work out at 4:30.
Leave my house at 4:30.
Wow.
Me too.
I'm gonna get out of bed at like 6:30. So God bless both of you.
I'll be getting out of the sauna at 6:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Frank, you got anything else besides a shameless plug that most people are going to probably miss at this point? Because it's an hour and 35 minutes.
BobbyFishApparel.com.
Boom. BobbyFishApparel.com.
The Bobby Fish on Instagram. The Bobby Fish on, is it Twitter or X now? I don't even know.
X.
Yeah.
What else do we got, boys? What else? So
you have shit coming
16th, up. September 16th is now postponed. But I do have September 30th, the seminar at the House of Champions in Longwood.
What was
Florida.
September 16th supposed to be?
September 16th is that was in Jacksonville. I also have September 27th with Streamly, the virtual signing that I'm doing. So if you go to streamly.com/BobbyFish, you can purchase 8x10s, t-shirts, action figures, and then they will be sent to me. They will be part of the virtual signing. I will sign them. You will see it, and then they will be mailed back by Streamly to said attendees, I guess.
And September 23rd, Pro Wrestling Magic.
Yes,
you and our boy Vinny, the energy drink fuel guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna beat the G Fuel out of Vincenzo.
There we go.
And we've been advertising it, whatever, and I see Vin's getting his energy drink on and whatnot, but I don't know. Vin's a bit younger than me, and I don't know that Vin realizes how this, we can joke all the way up until bell time, and then bell time, it's not going to be fun for him. I don't know how else to put it. I don't cooperate real well. I don't play nice.
You're gassy?
Yeah, I'm gassy. I'm gassy and I'm sassy.
Well,
let's get Vinny back on the show. I think
you got to remember too, Bobby's like the oldest human on the planet, so he's ornery as fuck too. I mean,
right.
Stay off his fucking lawn.
And horny.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Somebody tell my wife.
Okay.
We'll let you handle that.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's
all right.
I'm gonna go stare at her. Is that weird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
married to her. I mean, I'm married. So
that
what you
doesn't make it
can't- I
any
mean,
less fucking weird, man. When you would wake up in the middle of the night and your kid was in there staring at you, it was fucking weird. So,
Well, she's my wife. So
all right, well,
she
good luck.
married this.
Yeah, well, good luck. Okay.
Mhm.
On that note, say goodnight, Bobby.
Good night, Bobby.
Yeah.
You go.